Hi guys, welcome back to B's Speed Shop. So my floor panel that I ordered has arrived, but before I can get that installed I need to make a repair patch for this front edge. So as you can see, this whole edge here has pretty much just rotted out. So there's a big panel welded just straight over the top of this. So what I'm going to do is, from the inside, I'm going to make a pattern of this edge, because there's an edge which folds up and spot welds into here. So I'm going to make a pattern and replace this whole edge along here up to about here somewhere. And then the actual floor piece goes on the inside of this. So I want to get this made first and into place, and then from there I can trim back this edge and get the floor panel fitting in. So this is the rotted out edge from the inside where I need to cut it out just here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to try making a pattern using tape. So I'm going to lay some tape going one way diagonally, then come back over the top and do another layer going the opposite direction, and hopefully make a pattern from that which I'll be able to cut out, and then I can put it onto my sheet of metal, mark around it and cut out my replacement panel. So I've got a load of masking tape all set out at the moment. I know it probably just looks like a mess, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with a Stanley blade and cut along this edge, follow it all the way down, and then there's like a little angle here, and then what I'm going to do is I know I need about an inch, somewhere between an inch and 2 inches up this face. So what I can do is just use a steel rule, cut this rough edge off, and then I've got a nice straight edge, but it also allows me to make a pattern for this complex bit just here, because obviously this bends here onto this piece, and then there's this flange edge here where the spot welds are. So I'm going to be able to cut all around this, make a nice pattern, and then what I'm going to do is try and carefully peel it off, and then I can put it onto my sheet of metal, mark around it and cut it out. So now I've trimmed back the edges of the tape, hopefully you can see better what I was talking about. So obviously when I peel this off now, it's going to give me the outline of the shape that I need to cut out. This back edge here is a bit wonky, but once I can take this off and put it on the piece of metal, I can do a straight edge along there to make sure it is straight. So what I can do now is carefully, what I might do is just put a couple of indication marks as to where the bends are, and then I can peel it off, and then obviously I can cut it out from my sheet of metal. So I was able to peel my template off. I just had to make one little relief cut here because it goes from a bend sort of along this piece. It goes more into like a bigger radius here as it gets towards the transmission tunnel. So I just had to make a relief cut so I could lay that down flat. But now I can quickly draw around this. Obviously I'll neaten up this edge a bit, but I'll probably leave it a bit bigger when I cut it out. So there's a bit to trim off of the ends, and then that way just make sure it definitely fits. But I have measured it from this corner to the edge and it's the same, so I can quickly draw around this, then I can get it cut out. So this is still only just a rough cut at the moment, so obviously I've got to grind back a few of the edges just to make them nice and square. But as you can see, like where that bit rusted out all along there, that will get replaced. And then this corner came out pretty good. Still a little bit of grinding to do. So I'm going to grind up all these edges, make them all true, get this shape in the right place, and then from there I can figure out where I got to put my bends in. So it's probably about here somewhere where it's got to go. There's a bend all the way along there, and then obviously this edge here will bend up on the inside, but I'll probably have to put a few relief cuts along there just to bend them up so I can spot weld it to will be this edge here. So I'm going to just grind these edges, refine the shape a bit, and then once I'm happy with it, I'll give you another update. So I've done a bit more work on my little panel I'm making here. So obviously I straightened up this edge, and this edge here is square to this side here, so all this is all square. I've also put a bend in it, so I just used my box tube again, just clamped it along in several places and held it in the vise roughly in the middle, and then just sort of bent over this top section. So now there's a slight radius in there which should match what is already in the car, and I've trimmed down that top edge as well. Still doesn't quite fit because obviously I've got to bend that edge over where it goes up in there. You see that far edge, I've got to bend that over. So what I'm going to do now is just put a few little pie cuts in there and try and bend that up, which will recreate that edge there, which I can then do a few spot welds onto. So that's my job. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put a few cuts in it and bend it up. So I've made my little relief cuts and I've started to bend up these tabs. I think a couple of these relief cuts at the top here, I think I need to cut them a little bit deeper. So what I'll do is I'll do that with the cut off wheel. I'll just cut down the middle of these gaps. But we'll quickly fit it to the car and see how it looks. So I've just got the panel clamped into place at the moment. Obviously it's still a bit long, so that corner isn't quite sitting in, so there is a bit of a gap, but it all lines up pretty well. So like I was saying with these little relief cuts here, what I've got to do is, I think just here on this one and maybe this one here, I need to cut them slightly deeper so that I can pull these tabs out a bit more and create that radius just there. Obviously mostly this edge is pretty much straight, there's just this last bit where the radius is. So I've just got to do a bit more work just to get that fitting in a bit better. And obviously I've got to decide how far I want this to come up so I can then scribe and then cut this piece out. Obviously what I'll do is I'll probably trim it down a bit because I don't think it needs to be this much. So what I'll do is you can see, I'll probably trim along this line somewhere. Make a straight line obviously, not this wonky one. And then I need to decide how much I'm cutting out of the actual floor piece on this end, because obviously I could just cut it straight across there and then just blend it in, weld it and blend it in, it'll be fine. But I need to just check how much I need to cut off of this piece. But I'm pretty happy with how this panel's coming out so far, so a little bit more work and it'll pretty much be ready to fit in. So I've done a little bit more work to my panel along these this flange edge just to get that in and fitting better. I'm quite happy with how it all fits together now. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this panel off short and I'm going to cut along here somewhere, because this is where the bend goes from being a bend into this larger radius. So I think it's going to be easier for me to cut it along here and cut that section out, and obviously I just got to cut this one down so that it fits in there. I think that's going to be the easiest way for me to do it, but unfortunately I don't have time to get that welded in this weekend. But once that is welded in, that is pretty much the last job I got to do before I can actually put the floor in, apart from trimming this edge. But I'll leave that until I actually get the floor mocked up in place, and I can just sort of roughly mark it where I need to and cut it out, and then I can cut the actual floor panel to fit as well. So that's going to be it for today's video. I just wanted to give you guys a quick little update on the mini project. So thanks for watching this video.